Got a $10 donation from Kona Rycan. A hand cam incentive not met? This can't stand. This goes to Catherine Handcam. And speaking of which, we do have a donation incentive for there to be a hand cam during that one player, two controller Catherine run that Ghoul02 was just talking about. And so donate for that if you want to see that. So we still haven't met that yet. We have a $20 anonymous donation that says, "Way to go, Canada. Awesome race. Appreciated the show." We have a $20 anonymous donation that says, "Great event for a great cause. First time watching and donating, but we'll definitely do it again. Keep on speedrunning." We have a $20 donation from Dardison that says, "This year is the 30th anniversary of Metroid. Let's hear some cheering for one of the favorite franchises to speedrun. Be sure to take some time this year and replay some of the Metroid games. Also, save the animals."
All right. Countdown whenever you're ready. 3, 2, 1.
So the hardest boss in the game is coming up here.
Woo! Woo! I don't know why you're clapping. That's only phase 1.
Oh, yeah, that's true. There you go.
Okay.
So this is Metroid Prime for the Nintendo GameCube, and the first part of this run pretty much starts on the Frigate. There isn't really a way to skip this, so pretty much just going to go fast and go up to the boss of the Frigate, the Parasite Queen. And this is kind of a tutorial area where it teaches you how to use your missiles, use charge beam, and so on. So Justin here is using a technique called a scan dash, which whenever you logged onto something and you strafe and you let go of the lock-on button, then you maintain all of your speed from that, and you can pretty much cross the horizontal distances very quickly. And it's also really useful for speed all around. And you're also going to be seeing a lot of morph ball usage because rolling as a morph ball is faster than walking or even jumping. So there are times where you want to be scan dashing instead of rolling, and it really depends on the situation.
Yeah, speaking of, or even jumping, as you could probably tell, right, it's faster to just jump everywhere because you gain speed while jumping.
So right here is a pretty tight trip coming up here called Biohazard. Nice. So that skips going around the bottom floor of the room, taking an elevator up, and then going back around the room again to reach that door. And coming up is the boss of the Frigate called the Parasite Queen. She's a pretty straightforward boss. Nice.
Yeah, the boss's weak point is her mouth, and you're supposed to scan her, and then you can lock onto the mouth. But you can just aim manually upward, and then just fire a bunch of missiles into her mouth, and then she dies.
So he's going to be using a technique called rapid fire missiles. Basically, if you're pressing Y while holding up on the C stick, then you can pretty much cancel the cooldown for missiles and keep firing missiles rapidly without pretty much any pause in between, which is just really powerful all around for many bosses. So I believe that took 8 missiles, which is optimal. So that was pretty much the perfect fight. And now he has to escape the Frigate.
Evacuate immediately. Evacuate immediately.
Yeah, unlike the first pass through the Frigate, where it's basically normal, this is not so normal as he's about to go out of bounds and go back through the way he just went instead of going the escape path through the Frigate.
Nice, first try. It's not over yet. So navigating out of bounds is kind of... There's a lot to explain about it in general. But the physics are pretty different all around when you're out of bounds. You have to pretty much navigate from door to door in order to make the game think you're in the next room. And then to load the room after that, you have to hit the invisible load trigger, which is why he morphed into the ceiling and bombed himself. And now what he's doing here is something called ether jumping, which is a series of 3-frame jumps in the corner of an invisible box that you just have to know where it is.
Yeah, every room is inside a box, and when you're outside of that box, then the game basically always considers you to be standing, so you don't fall, which is why he's able to just walk across the room. And so the only way to fall is to walk into a different room's box that's bigger or to morph.
And if you're in the side of the invisible box, you can walk out of the box and into the box. And you have when you do that, you have a 3-frame window in order to jump out of it. And that's a method to climb up rooms out of bounds quickly, which is called an ether jump. And you'll be seeing that a few times here and there throughout the run.
So yeah, that was a really good escape.
That was a very good escape. That was pretty much flawless. 15-30, 5-12, wow.
Yeah, so we just skipped the item loss on the Frigate, but you don't actually get to keep your items because they're taken away from you again once you land on Talon.
There's normally a cutscene at the very end, but where you lose your items. But there's actually 2 item losses. The first obvious one, and as Miles mentioned, the second one when you land on Talon, so there's no way to skip it. Alright, so that's pretty much the tutorial section of the game, and now we get into the real game. Well, I'm not sure if I should call it the real game. But
that was the real game.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into the fake game.
Alright, so he's going to be using a scan dash here to get on top, high up on a ledge. And you're not able to reach this ledge without boost ball normally, which is a mid-game item, but since we just got up here without boost ball, he's able to get space jump first, which allows you to jump a second time in the air.
And it completely breaks open the early game.
It completely destroys early game and saves a ton of time. And now he's heading over to Chozo Ruins, which is the first main area of the game upon landing.
So what he's doing a lot of places is R jumping, which is jumping and then turning with R. And it lets you move faster, but it gives you less control over your jump. So it's more difficult to R jump everywhere.
Yeah, a big reason for it is that you don't really have a speed cap whenever you're moving sideways, which is applicable for R jumps and scan dashes, which is why you're able to move so quickly sideways. And you just got a missile tank there instead of the actual missile launcher. And he's going to grab another energy tank here. You're not supposed to get this energy tank from the main plaza, which is the big room he's in. You're supposed to come out of a different room to get this. But thanks to having space jump early, he's able to get that energy tank quickly backwards.
I mean, they basically knew you'd be able to do that because the door is locked.
Right, so here's a mini boss where you're supposed to fight a bunch of beetles, but he's just going to jump over the trigger and get Morph Ball. But it is faster to just trigger the mini boss for in-game time and then just leave the room. So we really hope you like this mini boss music because you're going to be hearing it for a while. Because we just left the room.
Yeah, in Prime, the music doesn't change until you trigger specific objects that change the music. And since he just left that boss in the middle of the fight, he's not going to hit another trigger for a while. So we're stuck with this music until then.
This room behaves pretty weirdly. Justin's going to be opening up the map right here, which saves a little bit of time. Because the moment you enter this room, every room adjacent to this room starts loading. But then this room was already finished loading, but the door doesn't open until the other room is finished loading. So by opening up the map, you make that door open once it's finished loading instead of waiting for other doors to finish loading.
Yeah,
It's kind of weird.
yeah. So that room was loaded, but just refuses to open, and then pausing makes it open. I do not know why that happens.
The loading is kind of interesting at times. So like, there's two primary ways to load a room. The main way is to hit an invisible load trigger, which unless you're out of bounds, you're pretty much always going to hit them. But the other way is to shoot a door and be close to it. And this applies to all 3 Prime games for most purposes.
Yeah, for normal loads, you can't just pause the game and wait for it to load. Like, loading completely stops when the game is paused.
And for reference, Justin is running this on the GameCube NTSC version. PAL version is slower, Japanese is slower, Trilogy is way slower. And yeah, the player's choice is also way slower. This is the fastest version of the game to speedrun it on.
And he's also playing on a Wii, but the only difference that makes is that the game can't crash in a few specific spots.
To make it clear, the GameCube version on a Wii console,
Yeah.
not a Trilogy version. And the other versions generally are much slower because of many patched tricks, especially player's choice and Trilogy version. Alright, so there's a boss fight coming up called Incinerator Drone, and this is a pretty straightforward boss in terms of execution because there isn't much to execute. All you do is wait and hope you get good luck on it.
Yeah. There's 4 rounds, and each round takes a random amount of time for the weak point to pop up. So there's 5-second variants in the first round and 10 seconds in the other 3 rounds. So it's just hoping you get good luck and it pops up quickly. That was not good.
Yeah, that was bad. That was bad.
That was only the first round, though, which is only 5 seconds possible variants.
Wait, did you scan the wasps?
No.
Gotta lose so much time now.
It saves 10 minutes.
Hey!
Let's scan the center either.
It's kind of interesting that you see the scan visor used so frequently, primarily because even though you can do scan dashes with the combat other visors, the scan visor is most commonly used because there are a lot more things to lock onto with the scan visor than other visors.
So this fight seems to be going much better than his earlier practice runs.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. It's always good to beat the boss before the music loops.
So now he's going to get the Morph Ball bombs, which allow you to plant bombs and do some creative bomb jumps, as you saw in the Frigate.
Rip the unmorph.
Do I have time for a couple donations, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we've got a $500 donation from Icefire.
Whoa.
Wow.
Icefire says, good luck on the run, Justin. And can we get a roll call on the couch?
I'm Little Nino.
Curry Master?
Miles.
And that's
Justin.
Skull.
Oh, that's Xanthian, and that's Skull. And the runner is Justin.
We got a $25 anonymous donation that says, shout out to Chet PM. Here's a haiku. Kill those animals. They often ruin speedruns. Refrigerator.
Alright, so in this room, you're supposed to scan for runic symbols to unlock the gates. And there's a lot of strategies for this room. Like, it's pretty creative how many strategies you can come up with. But he's just going to skip that by doing a bomb jump here. There was also a trick he just used right there where he was able to jump in the air as if he was on ground, and that's called a BSJ.
Bomb space jump.
A bomb space jump. Probably start with that first. And we can get into more details about that later. So right now he's going to Flagra, which is the first big boss of the game. And the reward for beating Flagra is getting the Varia suit, which protects you from heat.
It looks absolutely disgusting with fusion suit.
So the idea behind this boss is you're supposed to knock down the mirrors to stun him, and then you can roll into a tunnel and destroy the morph ball slots. These bomb slots are not active until this cutscene here.
Yeah, and each round it adds more mirrors, so you have to hit more of them to stun the boss.
That takes forever, and it's kind of annoying. So Justin's just going to dash around and skip the mirrors.
Nap time.
Yeah, this is once we get the explanation for this boss out of the way, which we kind of did, this boss is pretty much filled with just purely cutscenes.
Yep. You
And,
just do that 4 times and watch a 20-second cutscene after each one.
and then the Safari Suit cutscene, which takes like a minute. So yeah, this would be a good time for more donations then.
All right, cool. We've got a $250 donation from Frigate. Have to donate this year. Looking forward to a good week of speedrunning games. Well, thank you for that donation, sir. We have a $50 donation from Mystic Templar 144 that says, Metroid Prime was the first and only game I ever did any sort of speedrunning tricks in. In the honor of the Chozo's environmentalism, save those animals. We have a $65 donation from TorchGirl22 that simply says, bless the RNG gods.
Yeah, that's a different way of doing that than most.
Those are improv threats.
We have a $10 donation from SGM92 that says, Metroid Prime has always been my favorite Metroid game of all time, and I'm always happy to see it speedrun once again. Good luck, JustinDM, and happy early 30th anniversary Metroid.
I'm so sorry, Metroid.
You weren't authorized to say that. You can squeeze in like one more donation.
All right, well, I'm going to take this opportunity real quick to let everybody know that we're still just a little under $1,100 away from that hand cam donation incentive for Catherine. So get your donations in because that game's coming up after this one. So if you want to see hand cam for that 1-player 2 controller, get those donations in.
I highly recommend donating for that. I've seen Ghoul's webcam, and it's very impressive to watch.
It's really cool run.
Quick, everybody, look away.
Oh, God! Oh! Man, we donated several hundred for this? Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm not.
Okay, it's gone.
All right, so upcoming is a pretty important trick. Soon there's going to be a vertical shaft, and partway down that shaft is an invisible trigger to change the layer of this room where we fought Flagra in. And that will activate some Chozo ghosts when appearing, and then defeating them will unlock the artifact of Wild. And ultimately, the goal of this game for now, for all intents and purposes, is to collect the 12 artifacts, and then go to the final area with them.
So once you use the bomb, your bombs are refilled 3 seconds later. So if you're able to space out your bombs this long, then you can just use them infinitely.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you have to drop partway down that shaft to hit the invisible trigger, then do an infinite bomb jump back up. It's not the hardest trick in the world, but it does take a lot of time to get used to because the timing is really awkward.
Yeah, there's only a few spots that you can slow down your fall that much to be able to infinite bomb jump like that.
So for some reason, shooting a ghost while it spawns makes it spawn earlier. Have you found out why?
Because it does.
Alright, so there's a lot of luck involved with these ghost fights, depending on what attack they will do, where do they move, and so on. So there's a lot of time barriers in this fight.
Yeah, an important thing to do is to shoot them with the charge shot right as they dash away, and then they won't be able to turn invisible. It'll like cancel them turning invisible, so you can just stay locked on and fire at them wherever they go.
You generally don't want to hit them with a charge beam before they attack you. The exception is when they kind of float up in the air and start charging. They're not cooperating very much.
Yeah. This fight is just a ton of luck. And apparently he used all his luck on Incinerator Drone, so it doesn't seem to be going well.
So to finish the speedrun, we don't really need Charge Beam, to be honest, but we really want it for several boss fights, and this is one of those big spots where we really want Charge Beam. charge beam does a lot more. I think it does like 50 damage when fully charged, and each individual power beam shot does 2 damage.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Right, so this is the first of the 12 artifacts we're getting. And at this point, we've pretty much gotten every major upgrade we're supposed to get in in the first trip to Chozo. While also having space jump, which kind of breaks the game. So now we're intended to go to Magmoor Caverns, which is kind of like a connecting area between the major areas, and then head to Fendrana Drifts, which is the ice area of the game, which is kind of like the mid-game of the run.
Yeah, what you're supposed to do there is get Boost Ball, and then go all the way back to Talon to get Space Jump, and then go back to Fendrana and get Wave Beam. But you can just get Boost and then Wave, because we already have Space Jump.
So Magmoor Caverns, aren't going to really be any sequence breaks or anything here as far as... Oh, wait, there's an artifact coming up. So in a room coming up, there's a pillar in the middle of a cave that you're supposed to use a super missile on and also see it with the X-ray visor. But you can just fire 2 normal missiles at it to blow it up instead, and you don't need X-ray visor.
I don't think that counts as a break.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's kind of weird. But it's worth pointing out. So this is the second of our 12 artifacts. And it's best to get it now because we're never coming back to this part of Magmoor.
We have a $10 donation from J42 that says, in Metroid Prime, Samus goes to a foreign land to cure a great poison. Sounds like a doctor without borders to me. Here's hoping she continues to do no harm and saves the animals.
All right, so what Justin's going to do here is something called a ghetto jump. Ghetto jumps...
Slope jump.
Yeah. They're basically slope jumps where when you start a jump and you press up against the slope, you gain some extra height. So you can use it to pretty much reach places you're not supposed to be able to reach. It's not very obvious whenever you get them.
Ooh. No safety tank.
Oh, now you can't do it because. Yeah, in most normal runs, we just skip this tank because it's pretty slow to get. But this is a marathon. We would like to not die. So.
Dying in Metroid games is a bad idea because if you die, you start over from the last time you save. And we don't like saving.
We have a $25 donation from Hercules Bench Press that says, even Kirby Master can't deny Fusion Suit is best suit. Now for another unpopular statement. Save the animals. Good luck, Justin.
Please deny it right now.
Now what? Fusion suit?
Say it's terrible. Say it's horrible. Say it's ugly. Just do something.
It's pretty ugly.
I waited this cutscene here, so it moves me forward during the cutscene, and it saves in game time.
So in the Prime community, we generally go by in-game time for this, and the in-game timer is counting down pretty much any time you have control of Samus. It doesn't count whenever you pause, during cutscenes, during dialogue boxes, and whenever you have a map open.
Yeah, so in that last room, he dashed straight into an enemy that's flying around, and unfortunately that hit him and stopped his momentum, so he couldn't make the dash. It's kind of annoying to avoid those little bats that are flying around.
So in this room, you're supposed to scan a scan point and then lower a bunch of platforms, but one, we have space jump, which we're not supposed to have at this point, and then we could just kind of dash over to boost ball. But yeah, boost ball is pretty much the fastest form of movement on top of scan dashing. So basically, if you're in morph ball mode, you want to boost as much as you can. Whereas scan dashing is good for if you need to jump somewhere or cross gaps. So now that he's gotten boost ball, and as Miles mentioned before, you're supposed to get space jump, then wave beam next. We already have space jump, so he's just going to go ahead and get wave beam. Now, he's going to be doing something interesting here. When he gets to Fendrana Shorelines, the big room where he waited out the cutscene, he's going to be doing a set of scan dashes to get out of bounds. And you'll see what happens with that. Well, first of all, let's watch the speed of a cutscene, tainted by a diffusion suit.
So majestic.
Diffusion suit?
No. God, no. Ew.
The Varia fusion suit?
Yeah, so near the wave beam, there's an artifact, the artifact of sun. And you can't get it yet. It requires plasma beam, so normally you would have to come back here near the end of the run and get it. But instead, we're going to do a trick called infinite speed, which is really complicated to explain. So we'll just show you what
Let
happens.
it speak for itself.
So when you're out of bounds, you have to be careful wherever you try to land because a lot of the structures that you're out of the room, if you touch it, you're kind of stuck and you can't jump out of it.
Yeah, so all those jumps, you basically have to land on the very edge in order to not get stuck.
And if he does land on the edge, he'll either fall down or he has to do a bomb jump, which might result in falling down. If you fall down while out of bounds, that's very bad. And you have to recover by doing several ether jumps, which can cost minutes.
Well, here you would just go back to the certain room.
Oh, yeah.
And get back to the door. Still really slow.
Nap time.
So here his rotation speed is increasing exponentially, and after about 50 seconds, it gets too high for the game to handle and just gives up. And then the shell around the morphball will disappear. And when you do that, you boost, and the game sort of puts you everywhere at once, except it doesn't. And we don't know how this works at all, but the wave beam room 2 rooms away is now loaded, and so he'll be able to get both the wave beam and the artifact of sun at the exact same time, and then it'll warp him into the wave beam room.
There's 2 major benefits to this. One is getting an artifact of sun early without plasma beam, meaning you never have to come back to this side of Fendrana again. And 2, skipping the Sheegoth fight. Because you're supposed to fight a bunch of baby Sheegoths and an adult Sheegoth in order to get the wave beam.
Also, hi, Samus, too.
Dude, double Samus. Is that the SAX?
I'm sorry, I can't clap for 2 fusion suit Samuses.
Alright, bye. Peace out.
Yeah, it's just weird things with the order of how things are done in that room when you get like that the door doesn't end up locked.
So we're pretty much done with this area of Fendrana. There's like a Pirate Lab section and a Far Fendrana section, but we're going to go back there later. But we've gotten everything we want here. The artifact, wave beam, and boost ball. So now Justin's going to go back to Chozo Ruins, because Chozo Ruins has another mid-game item called Ice Beam.
And we have a $10 donation from King Recycle that says, "Hey Justin, it's your boy. Told you I would donate during your run, and here it is. Good luck on your run. World record, or you have to drink milk from a sock."
You have to beat T3, more specifically. When are we having a three-way race between Justin, T3, and Miles?
When we feel like losing terribly.
Oh, I forgot there's an artifact here. So, you're supposed to activate a boost slot to unlock a bridge and then cross it and go around the room to get to this artifact, but you can just dash across and skip that instead. Because we're not coming back to this part of Magmoor anymore, so it's best to get it now.
Yeah, there's a shortcut in that room you can take with power bombs, but with this new route, there's no way to come back here while we have power bombs. So unfortunately, you just have to leave and go back instead.
So Magmoor Caverns is kind of, the layout for Magmoor Caverns is basically a really long line. So one end is Chozo Ruins, in the middle is Fendrana, and then if you keep going along the line, which he is right now, there's another elevator to Talon Overworld. And this is the fastest way to get back to the area of Chozo you want to go to.
We have a $50 donation from Hubble that says, "Can't wait to see someone's hands while playing Catherine. Here's $50 towards the hand cam."
Go, Zoomer, go.
Those zoomers are jerks sometimes.
Couldn't really zoom past it.
I thought we banned puns.
We got a $20 donation from Unsaddled Ash that says, "We already have a face cam, so let's get this hand cam going. This whole charity event is amazing and a wonderful cause. I hope this year's SGDQ does better than ever. Thanks to all the staff and runners for making this happen. You guys are all awesome people."
I think we have time for one more.
All right. We have a $100 donation from Doughboy that says, "Metroid Hype. My favorite series, and I main Samus competitively in Smash. Save the animals, they never did anything to you."
How do you know that?
They waste time. That's what they did wrong.
Hey, they didn't make the Fusion Varia suit.
How do you know that?
You don't know that.
That's a fair point. All right, so we have Wave Beam now, and we're back to the room where Justin got Morph Ball. Because we need to go to a room called the Tower of Light, since there's an artifact in here. You're intended to have Gravity Suit in order to get this artifact because it's underwater, and the Gravity Suit is an upgrade that allows you to move underwater as if you're on land. But he's going to do a ghetto jump here, and you gain a crazy amount of height with ghetto jumps from underwater because your physics go complete whack. So he was able to get this without Gravity Suit.
Nice camera.
Nice ghetto jump. As a reminder, a ghetto jump is a jump where you press against the slope to gain extra height. The jumps aren't very noticeable to a typical viewer because it doesn't really look like you're doing very much.
Yes!
Yes! Hole in one. That is one of the best tricks in the game. It is very important he gets it.
And we're about to do the infinite speed glitch up here in just another minute to get a powerbomb expansion early.
Yeah, there's a powerbomb expansion that requires a powerbomb to get up. And it's possible to get to it from out of bounds, but you can't powerbomb the wall from the other side, so if you get in, you're just stuck forever. So instead, we're going to use infinite speed again and just boost and get from across the room.
There is a way to get it out of bounds while still being clipped into the floor, I think, and then not get stuck. But that's basically a task-only strat.
Like, you have to have the room load around you while you are exactly on the powerbomb and inside the floor, and so you can get it and fall through the floor on the frame the room loads. And you barely have enough time to get there, going as quickly as you possibly can.
I believe you can see this in Edzon's 100% TAS, which he finished relatively recently. Edzon is another pretty good Prime runner who also has a sub-hour time, and he's working on another task at the moment, I think.
Yeah, so not only does this take about 50 seconds in-game to do, it's also lagging. So it takes even longer for this spin up to finish. Yet somehow it still saves time to do this.
Nice polygon.
So generally, you want to be really careful when boosting around because you kind of touch everything, sort of, whenever you boost, which includes enemies.
And also, he needs to absolutely not unmorph at this point. Or else you'll be stuck with a glitch called Light Show, and you're not able to continue,
You're
usually.
basically soft-locked. So to deactivate this, he's going to be entering a save station, which will cancel out the glitch.
Yeah, if you trigger a spawn point, then it'll be fixed. And so, like any cutscene that warps you, basically.
That's what happens if you unmorph.
No.
Alright, so he's gotten an early powerbomb expansion. He's also gotten another artifact in Chozo Ruins. There's only one artifact left, but he's not going to be getting it for a long time.
Oh.
But what he's doing here is a ghetto jump in order to get out of bounds at this little hole here. This wall crawl, which is a term for navigating out of bounds, used to be named IBBF, which stands for Ice Beam Before a Flagra, which used to be a standard route used for any percent, and it's still used for 100% speedruns. He's still going to be doing the same kind of wall crawl for one and only one reason: to skip a puzzle in this room.
Nah, it's to skip the ghost fight.
Oh yeah, there's a ghost fight too. Yeah.
So it's just faster to go out of bounds than to go a longer path than bounds.
So he has to land on that specific diagonal spot there to load the next room, and he's shooting in empty space here to see whether it loads or not. And it hasn't loaded. Right. So he has to wait for the game to give him a jump if he's on the bottom of a room. Looks like it's loaded, so he just has to get back above the room to get on top of the door.
Yeah, it's so easy to mess up like that while out of bounds.
Yeah, out of bounds, navigating out of bounds is very punishing in general. Like, being off even a tiny bit with a single jump will mess everything up. Like, that recovery was not even that cost. That was a very good recovery.
Yeah, if you had to fall in one of the rooms, that's one of the best rooms to fall in.
If you fall down in that big room called Furnace he was in, oh, good luck. You are screwed.
Energy core is worse.
Oh, yeah, energy core is worse.
This room is worse.
This room is even
Oh,
All right, so this is what happens if you make a tiny mistake and out of bounds. You have to ether jump back up, blind. So he has to wait for the game to give him a jump and then figure out where the ether, which is a term for space outside of room bounds. And then do a series of ether jumps, which are all 3-frame window jumps. And if he misses a single one, he has to start all the way over.
Yeah, usually we try to find a corner of the room, and so if you miss it, then you just fall into the corner. But it's slow to... I have to spend forever trying to find where the corner is.
Right.
So that was actually a relatively fast recovery.
That was a very fast recovery. That could have gone much worse. It's not over yet, though. He has to transition the room by making the game think he's in the next room, and then not trigger a ghost fight. But meanwhile, he's going to grab another energy tank here. I believe you need Ice Beam for this, technically. This looks normal. And there's a bunch of standable spots around this wall that you can stand on. And then he's going to try to have this room load around him. And now he's back in bounds, so he's going to go get Ice Beam now. He's going to let this cutscene play out while holding down on the C-stick, because if you let it play out, you will automatically change your beam immediately during this part right here, which saves in-game time, because you can shoot the door immediately as opposed to swapping your beam manually first and then shooting the door.
Congratulations, you're a cheater.
All right, so now he's gotten a power bomb, all the artifacts in Chozo Ruins, and the Ice Beam.
Still missing an artifact.
Which one again?
World.
Oh, right, yeah, you're right, World. I mixed up the E-Tank with the artifact for some reason. That early power bomb is going to break the game quite a bit, because you're not supposed to have... A power bomb is a very late game item. You're not supposed to have it until pretty much when you enter the last area in the game. Well, the last big area of the game.
Yeah, so since he has it, he's now able to go get X-Ray right now, instead of it having to come back later in the game.
Oh, by the way, he doesn't have Spider Ball, so he can't. So he can just kind of skip it by jumping on his tracks. They use the power bomb here. He's planning this power bomb really early, because whenever you use a power bomb, you have a really long cooldown in order to use bombs again. So it's best to plant it as early as possible.
So here is the worst room in the entire game.
This half pipe is not very well programmed. Or, I don't know. It's just bad.
It has terrible collision.
So the X-ray visor, you don't really need it for that much except for one boss, Omega Pirate. Even if you know where he is, you cannot actually damage him unless you have the X-ray visor actually turned on. And this is the only reason we cannot skip X-ray visor in the entire game. Thermal visor, which is another visor, can be skipped, but he's going to be getting thermal visor because it's not really far out of the way and it saves time on the final boss. It's another artifact you're going to get, which is conveniently right beside X-ray visor. And all you need is boost ball. There's a way to get this without boost ball, but it's not.
We don't talk about it.
Yeah, it's not exactly very reliable. So normally you're supposed to climb around this room and fight a bunch of Chozo ghosts, so you can apply your new X-ray visor. But instead, he's gonna get on top of this little rock structure, and do an R jump out of the room and skip that.
You have no idea
Wow.
how hard that was. Just
Yeah.
It's a miracle it behaved. Okay.
So the entire point of coming to Talon here is getting X-ray visor. That area of Talon is typically sealed off completely until you go through the sunken Frigate, which you're not supposed to be able to go through that until you have gravity suit and ice beam. But you can pretty much completely skip that. Wait.
you can get there.
No, yeah, you can get there actually. I was thinking of the bottom part of that room because there's a gate. There's a one-way gate blocking you.
Yeah, you can get there right after ice beam, but you need power bombs, which you're not supposed to have until after going through the Phazon mines.
Because near that room with X-ray visor is an elevator to face on mines, but he's not going there yet.
It's so ugly.
Oh, speaking of that suit, by the way, so we have a $50 donation from D. Fiala that says, wearing the fusion suit means Metroid Fusion is canon, and so are the animals. So save the animals.
You're wrong.
Isn't it automatically not canon because the suit shouldn't exist?
And also to let everybody know, we are getting very close to that hand cam donation incentive. We're less than $300 away. So keep those donations coming if you want to see that. That game is next after this run.
Yeah, we can probably squeeze in a few more donations here.
Awesome. We have a $100 donation from Foxtrot that reads, great runs and a greater cause. I love SGDQ. Put this money towards a new suit
Yes.
for Samus. That Various suit looks like it was painted with boogers.
How
Yeah.
do you save?
Thanks, Foxtrot. You just broke Miles.
Saving game SGDQ, saving games done quick. I believe you're going back to Magmoor right now.
Yes.
Yes, to the second worst room in the game. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
And there's two reasons for this. One, the final beam in the game, Plasma Beam, is on the way to the other side of Magmoor Caverns. If you recall, Magmoor Caverns is pretty much a really long line, and at the other end of it is an elevator to Fendrana and an elevator to Phazon Mines. So on the way there, we're going to be getting Plasma Beam, which you're supposed to have power bombs and grapple. It's actually just grapple beam and boost ball. But we don't have grapple beam, but
We don't need grapple
yeah.
beam.
Who needs grapple beam?
Not us.
We
Right.
have,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I'm sorry. You can go ahead if you want, or I can do this real quick. $50 donation from Steven S. that says, Metroid Prime is one of my favorite games. As a big Metroid fan and a big speedrun fan, I feel like I have to say, save the frames, kill the animals.
Alright, so that long room he just crossed is a tunnel of lava that you're not supposed to be able to jump across, but he did with using a series of R jumps. You're supposed to use Spider Ball to climb across it manually, and it's slow. And we don't have Spider Ball either. Soon need Spider Ball. So this is the room where Plasma Beam is. He gets on top of this little spire thing, and then does an R jump across to skip needing Grapple Beam to grapple across. Now he's going to be raising these platforms using Boost Ball.
The spinners can be really stupid at times. Especially this last one.
Like it takes so many boosts to move it up like 10 slots, whereas the other one takes like the same number of boosts to go up to go triple distance.
Yeah, and sometimes it can take like double the amount of boosts as it just did for no reason at all.
Alright, so bombing the slots raises the ceiling, and we see this beautiful spider track puzzle that goes all the way across the room.
They're going to completely ignore.
Yep. He's going to do a tight ghetto jump on the spider track here.
Ooh.
Oh, I hate to make it. So
he
he's
jumped a tiny bit too late, so he wasn't able to get the slope jump.
So instead, he does a backup strat to use the ghetto jump. Nice backup. So morphing there was a really good backup there, because when you morph in the air, you completely reset your vertical velocity and you start moving straight forward, no matter what your previous direction was. If he didn't do that, he would have just fallen straight down. Nice dash. And we're just about at the end of Magmoor Caverns. And we're going to take this elevator to Fendrana Drifts, which takes us to the other side of Fendrana that we were not at before. The main reason for this is that there's an artifact there, and there's also an artifact in the Pirate Lab of Fendrana Drifts. So this is pretty much the only reason we go to this part of Fendrana.
Yeah, there's also the thermal visor, which is helpful on the final boss, but it's not helpful enough to go out of your way for. You can skip it, so we're only getting it because you already passed right by it to get the artifacts.
Oh, we're supposed to have Spider Ball for this, but you can just jump on a pole instead. And peace out.
We have a $25 donation from Alex K186 that says, "Love this event, love the great cause, thanks again. Also, please let's get this hand cam going so we can see the master at work."
So climbing this room is pretty complicated. You're supposed to have grapple beam to climb this, but he just skipped a series of platforms, and he's going to be using a few ghetto slope jumps to reach this door here, where you need plasma beam and power bombs, which he already has them, so he can just go ahead and get this artifact.
Yeah, there's a power bomb expansion here that takes about 10 seconds to get, I think. But getting it means you don't have to depend on a random power bomb later.
He needs a power bomb drop soon.
Yeah. Ooh! Oh!
Oh.
Okay, the game just hates you.
We have a $10 donation from CyberRod X that says, "Good luck to JustinDM with the fusion suit. I wish it had been the default power suit, but the community spoke, putting this towards getting the special stages in Jumper 2. So the hand cam donation sim is literally $3 from being filled. So let's get that $3 in, please, and we'll get to see that hand cam with Ghoul 02.
So we're entering the Pirate Labs backwards. This is where you're supposed to exit from the Pirate Lab. But because we already have the Ice Beam, you can kind of just go backwards. And we're going to come back to this room when we leave. So we're going to get the Thermal Visor on the way out.
Yeah, so that pirate just jumped through the glass and broke it and then died.
Did you know there's Metroids in this game?
What's a Metroid?
I mean, it's the title of the game, so...
I thought we were playing Metroid.
Wait, what's her name? What's the character's name then?
Metroid.
Oh, okay.
And she even looks like a Metroid.
I mean, she does have Metroid DNA in her. It's a Metroid person. And so the artifact is coming up in the next room, and while he does have all the tools to get the artifact normally, which is Plasma Beam, it's just faster to pretty much just snipe this dynamite by jumping over this barrier and then sniping it with a missile. You're supposed to go into a different tower where you can melt ice that's blocking a window and then shoot through it to hit this dynamite. But yeah, here's the last artifact of Fendrana.
Yeah, there's a really long pirate fight in this room, and the trigger is near the other door. So when you're exiting that fallen tower, you need to make sure you're not going too fast, or else you'll just boost straight out and into the trigger and start the fight.
Even if you have like really powerful weapons like Plasma Beam, the fight will take like a minute. It just takes forever. Alright, so in order to unlock the thermal visor, he has to scan 3 specific scan points. What he's going to do is fall off after scanning the top point, while falling down, scan the middle point, and then start scanning the last scan point upon landing. This is the fastest way to get the thermal visor quickly while falling down. So that was pretty clean.
Yeah.
And now say goodbye to Fendrana because we're not seeing Fendrana again. This is the point in the game where the game's like, oh, you got thermal visor, time to turn off all the lights, so you have to use thermal visor and fight your way out, but you're not supposed to have ice beam when you get thermal visor, so you can just peace out and not care.
Ooh, okay. Could have been worse.
That could have been worse. As Miles mentioned before, if you try to do an R jump, you kind of lose control of Samus. So if Justin didn't morph there, he would have just fallen straight down.
And that was a really tall room that you don't want to fall all the way down in.
There's like 2 really tall rooms in Var Fendrana that you really don't want to fall down. Fortunately, in the case where he did fall down, he didn't have to go all the way back up to the top. So it could have been worse.
We have a $10 donation from Flipside that says, oh, hey, Kirby, nice to see you here. You're actually the reason I started speedrunning games. Watching you run Fusion is amazing, although my 1% PB sucks. Only 103. Anyways, put these $10 to Kirby Master's Choice as long as it's to killing the animals.
Yeah, so since we have power bombs, we can just go through the back entrance to the mines instead of having to go the normal way.
Phazon Mines is kind of structured with like a few layers of buildings, basically. And this one pretty much takes you straight to the center of it, near close to the bottom area. So we pretty much can just skip the first half of the mines.
Yeah, so there's 3 levels, and this takes you right to the second.
And at the very bottom is the main boss of Phazon Mines, Omega Pirate, who gives you Phazon suit, and is required to beat the game.
Yeah, you need to go through all 3 levels of the mines, but there's an item in the first level, the artifact of Warrior. And you can't get that until after you've gotten power bombs. So you used to have to like go through the first level, then backtrack later back to it in order to get the artifact.
What Miles means by power bombs, he means the main power bomb upgrade. If you have a power bomb expansion, you still cannot activate the fight to get that artifact. You have to get the actual power bomb upgrade. This is an elite pirate. We're gonna use his head and borrow it for a second.
We don't know how to fight him, so we just run away.
Yeah. We only know how to fight the stronger version of it.
So coming up is the power bomb, main power bomb, and to get, you have to go through a maze, and that maze is random, and there's 300 different possible mazes you can get. And there's these pools of water you bomb to blow up walls in the maze, and because of that, some mazes are really short. So it's just luck whether you get a really short maze or a really long maze.
I believe they can vary between 15 squares to 55 squares.
Yeah. The whole maze is 63 squares.
Are you safety saving after this?
Yeah.
You better.
I'm going to ask that again after I get the firebomb, just in case.
This doesn't look too terrible. There's the pool of water near the power bomb, but unfortunately it's not the first one. Oh, that was really
Well,
good.
that's a really good maze. Wow. That's probably like, what, 25 squares or something? That's what it seems like. So, Justin, you're saving, right?
Yeah.
You're at the juice. No.
So, Justin, you're saving, right? And saying yes, right? Nice.
Yes.
You'll see why we were reminding him later.
Yeah, the Phazon Mines is a pretty safe spot. There's no chance of dying at all.
Actually, it's pretty safe when you have 4 tanks. It's not dying that we're worried about.
We're worried about him soft locking. Potentially.
Those turrets, or actually mega turrets, they're stronger versions than of the turrets we saw back in Frigate. And they do a lot of damage and take a lot of hits. So we don't want to deal with them. So in this room coming up where there's a bunch of Metroids, you're supposed to turn on an X-ray visor because there's like, I think 2 floating invisible platforms and a few more to climb the room. But while we do have X-ray visor, it's just faster to just dash across using these frozen Metroids. And we're supposed to have Spider Ball to use the spider track here. And we don't have Spider Ball, so instead we're going to use a power bomb to blow up this wall that leads to a missile tank. But use that as a stepping stone to reach this pillar here.
Well, usually you get knocked down when... Okay, it's not over yet, so I should shut up.
There you go. And then you can just dash across and skip the Spider Ball track.
Yeah, so he didn't fall down after the Metroid grabbed him, which was really good.
I'm surprised you stay up there. Whoa. Nice view. Right, so we're in the 3rd sub-level now, and there's a bunch of mushrooms and a bunch of Metroids he has to navigate through. So it can be pretty annoying to navigate quickly. These Hunter Metroids, it's the best way to kill them is to freeze them and then missile them. A charged plasma shot won't kill them in one hit. So I think Justin will like some serious time for this.
Yeah, so if you morph at the exact right time and angle, then the glider will clip you out of bounds. But it is stupidly difficult to do. I'm amazed he's able to do it all, really.
Nice.
Nice. All right, so what Justin's going to do here is he's going to transition the game to the next 2 rooms. In the next room is an artifact called Artifact of Newborn, and you're supposed to have Phazon suit because it's filled with a bunch of Phazon. And we obviously don't have enough energy tanks to survive it, so instead he's going to go out of bounds and grab it. But he has to be very careful because it's very easy to soft lock. So he's going to make the game think he's in the next room.
Yeah, by softball game, it's very easy to get stuck in the walls when you're trying to boost through them here.
It's not over yet. He has to get back and bounce now.
That's why we got 4 tanks.
Nice.
Nice. That is why he safety saved.
Yeah.
It was very easy to soft walk out of bounds during that.
So the entire point of that is to get the Artifact of Newborn early. If he didn't do that, then after getting Phazon, he would have to come all the way back to that room after defeating the Omega Pirate. So this, I think, saves like 1 minute around. Done properly?
No.
30 seconds. That didn't save any time because I missed the secret world.
Secret World is a term for get a spot to get out of bounds. So missile management is particularly important from here on out because he needs every missile he can get for both the Omega Pirate fight and also a Phazon Elite Pirate for the Artifact of Warrior that Miles mentioned earlier. So he's going to start the fight by boosting into the side, and that, for some reason, makes Omega Pirate just stand there without doing anything.
I'm
So you-
skipping the cutscene. That makes sense.
Oh, is it? Okay. Nice.
That skips the animation.
Yeah, so that power home saved about 4 to 5 seconds, and it stopped him from sending any troopers to fight you.
Oh. So there are 3 Phazon pools right now, and Omega Pirate, what he's trying to do is recover his armor, and your goal is to finish him off before he does that. So there's 2 rules in knowing which pool he spawns in. 1, he will always spawn in the pool farthest away from you, and 2, he will never spawn in the same pool twice in a row. Using this knowledge, you can predict where he's going to spawn. You're probably fine, right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, you're fine. Done.
A little awkward. It worked out.
Yep, power bombs can really mess you up sometimes.
Well, we have a $2,000 donation
Wow.
from Carl247.
Wow.
And Carl says, second donation of the event already could not in good conscience allow the good ending to happen. While my father was still alive, he donated yearly to MSF. This is actually the day of his death, and I cannot think of a better way to honor the occasion. Thank you so much for that donation, Carl.
Normally, after defeating Omega Pirate, you would go back to get the Artifact of Newborn, but since we got it early, we don't need to go back to do that.
Yeah, so just then it showed the gravity suit in the cutscene instead, because it just shows 1 suit above what you have, but he doesn't actually have gravity.
I mean, it's blue and purple, so it kind of matches the theme of Phazon being blue. So he has pretty much 1 more task left in the mines, and that is to climb back up to the level 1 of Phazon mines and defeat the Phazon Elite Pirate. So this is the same room he used to hop off an Elite Pirate's head. This time he does not want to trigger the fight. There's a white trigger right in front of that little hole there that he just jumped around.
I hate that. So it's so easy to press the button and then not actually shoot and then change your beam.
I believe you need like all 25 missiles for this fight.
24.
24.
Yeah. Not quite enough, but... Ooh, this room. Could you explain this room?
Yeah, so you're supposed to use Spire to get up this, obviously. So instead, he's going to do a bomb space jump here, which lets him land on a tiny sample spot. Then he's going to jump next to his Spire track and somehow get stuck next to it, and then be able to jump from there.
Nice.
hard to explain when he's going so quickly through it.
Yeah, that was really good. He has to do something similar again for this second shaft.
Can't really see it.
Yeah, it's sea is really dark right now, so.
We have a $200 donation from Finger Sandwich that just says, I don't know what to say in here. Thank you for the $200.
There we go.
Right, so right in front of this door is actually a wall that we don't see right now because you're not supposed to come into this room from this side. You're supposed to come from the bottom of this room. And you're supposed to blow up this wall using this turret here. Oh, hey. So he's going to scan this little computer here to shoot the turret or laser or whatever to blow up the wall because he wants to go back through that door right after getting this artifact.
I pause there to reduce the lag so it switches my beams faster and I can use a power bomb faster.
So ideally you had 24 missiles, but if you don't have enough, then Charge Plasma Beam helps finish it up.
Oops.
Wrong one.
Yeah, man, that pirate data is pretty important. So I believe we have 2 artifacts left after this one, although one in Chozo Ruins and one in Talon Overworld. So he's going to be using a series of standable spots to climb out of this room quickly. You're supposed to scan another computer to lower some platforms, which requires dealing with 2 wave troopers, but you can just climb out like that instead. It's much faster. And in this room, you're supposed to rotate these spider tracks in order to climb up this room and by using these bomb slots. But again, there's a bunch of small standable spots you can take advantage of to climb this room without using Spider Ball.
What a jerk.
Like, it's pretty crazy how quickly Justin is doing these jumps because these spots are not easy to land on. If you slight bit off, you'll just slide off and fall straight down.
Especially not easy when you're getting attacked by Metroids while doing it.
Yeah, like, it's not uncommon for runners to just outright kill the Metroids. I mean, I personally do, but some people don't. And we're... Hey, welcome to Phazon Mines.
Bye.
Bye.
So yeah, so now we're basically just backtracking to the ship and getting an artifact along the way.
The last artifact we get is the Artifact of Truth, which is basically a free artifact because it's right at the Temple of Artifacts, which is where we need to go to after once we have all 12 artifacts. So that one doesn't really count.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the artifact that sent you on the breadcrumb hunt to find the other ones. It's like, hey, these are artifacts, go find the rest of them.
Justin also wants to keep an eye on his missile count because they're going to be important for the Ridley fight coming. Wait,
He gets a refill.
You get a
Yeah.
refill, yeah. You get a refill before the fight, never mind.
Yeah, if you had to go in with only 5 missiles, then
It'd be very sad.
That would suck. Keeping in mind, there's a lot of small things going on with just general movement. Like, as much as possible, Justin is trying to use an L jump, which is a technique to move faster when you tap L in the air to maintain speed, and then translating that into an R jump to turn sideways as he lands. And sometimes he's trying to use a technique called a bunny hop, where you try to maintain more and more of that speed by hopping the moment you land. If done perfectly, you can actually gain speed by doing that. And you can combine this all with scan dashing as well. Alright, so there's a trigger for a ghost fight that stretches all the way across the room. So falling down here costs a lot of time because you have to fight the Chozo ghost if you hit this trigger. So he has to carefully land on this little pillar sticking out of this circle thing in the wall. And then dash safely across, and you're good.
Nice.
Nice.
you're good unless you forget, and then you jump straight.
So the wave slot leads to unlocking a path to getting to the top door, which we already have access to, so it's pointless. And the ice bomb slot leads to the energy tank, which Justin already got while out of bounds. This is another slope jump here to skip climbing up the room normally.
And you have to do that jump because you'll hit the trigger if you try to get up in the wrong way.
I missed the
Such a
trigger.
good fight. Yeah, what he did there was try to touch the load trigger early to start loading a save station, but he didn't get enough height to hit it.
Because there are times where the fastest way to reach the door is not necessarily the fastest way to
Load
the room, because eventually you're just gonna have to wait for the room to load anyway. So a faster strat is to find a way to hit the load trigger quickly while still beating the load by reaching the door. There's a lot of small strats like that, and it's really a case by case scenario.
We have a $15 donation from JRP2234 that says, Justin, it's your buddy JRP. Just woke up and wanted to say Magoo, and good luck with your run. Magoo.
Just Magoo it.
Magoo.
So are you saving at the ship?
Yeah, I'm going to.
I was honestly expecting a defiant no.
Ooh, that was a good dash. Dashing up to that ledge is a lot harder than it looks. Because it's not... Well, I don't think it's a normal scan dash. You have to combine it with holding the R button in the middle. Alright, so Justin has 11 artifacts. He's about to get the Artifact of Truth, and that will trigger the Meta Ridley fight. There's two main phases to this fight. There's the flight phase, where you kind of hit him here and there, and then there's the ground phase. For some reason, Boost Ball does a lot of damage. It's like over 50,000 damage per frame.
Nice
Yeah.
pause. Cheater.
And Flying Ridley is vulnerable to Boost Ball. So by hitting him with Boost Ball, you instantly end the flying phase and trigger his ground phase.
Yeah, Boost does 50,000 damage per frame. Ridley has 2,000 in his flying phase. So.
So as Ridley flies across, he's going to try to boost into him. But also have a little bit of fun. Got
Nice.
it.
Okay.
And now you see his HP just jumps all the way straight back down. Alright, so there's a bit of luck involved with this fight. If you hit Ridley's open mouth with the charge beam, you can stun him and damage him directly by hitting his chest. But if he tries to charge at you like this, you have to manually aim upright to hit his mouth. So while you don't really lose much time if he dashes, it's just a lot harder to execute. You can also hit him in the middle of his turnaround. Wow. Nice.
Nice.
Nice. That was a pretty solid fight.
We have time for donations.
Great. So we have $100 from Self that says, love this event. Second time seeing it and looking forward to more chances to donate to an awesome cause. Thank you to everyone. And we have a $50 donation from the Mad Bicyclist that says that since the incentive for Catherine was met, please put this to the Bionic Commando extra talkative NPC glitch, as PJ never fails to entertain.
No. I was getting ready to clap too.
All right, so Justin's going to be using the bomb space jump one more time. We never really explained this technique. It's not used too often in Prime 1 because the camera doesn't cooperate too much, but the idea is basically when you're in Morph Ball and you go into the air, for the first around 21 frames, the game has you in a state where you're technically Samus unmorphed on ground.
So about a third of a second.
So it technically doesn't matter because the time it takes to unmorph is longer than that. But if you manipulate the camera into blocking Samus so you get an instant unmorph, then you can jump during those 21 frames as if you're on ground. It's a technique that's a lot more apparent in Metroid Prime 2 and 3, but it's still used here and there in Metroid Prime 1. Right, so this is the Metroid Prime fight.
Which is completely random.
It's random. This is the biggest random factor in the entire run. So depending on the color of its face, you can only damage it with the corresponding beam. The exception is using Flamethrower on the power form. I don't know why.
Yeah, we don't have a flamethrower, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah, Flamethrower is one of 4 beam combos, which is basically a really powerful move for your corresponding beam that uses a bunch of missiles, but we don't have any at all. Which sucks, because beam combos are pretty helpful for this fight, except for Flamethrower. But none of them are worth getting. Old routes used to get the Ice Spreader because it's conveniently on the way.
But anyway, this fight is split up into 4 subchambers, and each subchamber adds basically an extra beam, with the last one being just completely random. The first chamber is power and wave beam. The second chamber is power, wave, ice beam. The third chamber is power, wave, ice, plasma beam. And the fourth chamber is all of the beams, but Metroid Prime can just completely change at random. And
Yeah, so in the first 3, Prime will always use each of those beams once, but it's a random order. But in the last chamber, he can like switch mid-round what beam he is, and does whatever he wants, or whatever she wants.
Every time you finish a beam phase from Metroid Prime starts charging at you. Normally, you're not really supposed to be able to damage him, but well, her actually. But she has two spots where she's vulnerable. Right here, and Justin got him, her, and right there, she's also vulnerable. So depending on what beam form it's in, you can tack on some extra damage, which is especially important for the plasma form because the plasma beam does the most damage. Nice.
could you imagine if Ice Beam actually hit Metroid Prime?
Yeah, Ice Beam is notoriously slow and inaccurate, so it's really annoying. It is the second most powerful beam you have against her. I believe Plasma does like 90 damage.
Plasma does 100.
Oh, 100. And I think
Ice does 1.5 times damage to Prime, so it does 90 charged. It's normally 60.
in this double level, you kind of want to have Plasma Beam earlier, so you can kind of transfer some of the Plasma Beam damage over to other phases and skip that, especially Power and Wave Beam, because they do a lot less damage. But you got kind of unlucky and got Plasma Beam last. So in this last double level,
And that also means you can't get it first in the next one.
You want to have as much Ice and Plasma Beam as possible, and as little Power and Wave Beam. Oh, that's a good start. Wave Beam actually does less damage than Power Beam. The Charge Shot, I should say. But it does home in, which is kind of nice.
And in the last chamber, while Metroid Prime does, or is able to change colors at will, you can manipulate her to usually stay in the color she's currently in by manipulating her to use her swipe attack by staying close. Doesn't always work, but sometimes it does.
Yeah, so this is not good luck so far, unfortunately. There's a good one.
No, at least it's not wave.
Ice is good.
Yeah, ice is good. Ooh.
Plasma is better, but not when it changes mid-shot like that, so you can't hurt her.
Gotta go fast.
Oh, wow, you got that. Nice. Metroid Prime can kind of speed up arbitrarily. It's kind of annoying.
It's only in the last chamber that it does that.
All right, so that's Metroid Prime, but there's one more round left. Phase, form, whatever you want to call it. Are you going to play the music?
No.
Gotta go fast.
Yeah, so if you skip that cutscene too quickly, then there's no music. And if you skip it at the right as it's about to end, then the screen stays white forever.
I didn't know that, actually. So here you kind of you have to just wait for Metroid Prime to lay a pool. Once she does, you can use that Phazon pool and start attacking her. Normally, it takes 4 pools to finish her off. But Justin's going to try to finish her with 2 pools instead.
She did not go into a good spot, so yeah, it's not happening, unfortunately. So he's going to go for 3 pulls instead and focus on canceling her attacks. And so he'll get the next pull to come out more quickly.
So what he's doing there by stepping out of the pool is that whenever you shoot Phazon, as you step out of the pool, you don't actually drain the pool at all, so you can get more damage out of that pool. And I believe the pool starts draining itself after around 25 seconds.
Yeah.
So you need to time it such that you try to drain the pool as little as possible until around the 20-second mark, and then use the rest of the pool quickly. Ooh, that Metroid's gonna... Time is coming up soon.
Yeah.
Time.
I'm amazed that Hunter Metroid didn't like grab you. Yeah, so now we have to wait for the end of the credits to check the in-game time, which fortunately you can speed the credits up, so they only take like 20 seconds or something.